This loser boy is Rogue, our protagonist. His life is a total disaster. First, his father betrayed his country and killed 2 of the top-level war heroes for the state, causing his country to lose the war. And because of this, he was bullied by everyone. And if that's not enough, his mother also get bullied. But wait, in fact, the god of hate lived inside Rogue. So let's see what happens when Rouge realizes that he has the strongest power in the world. But before that, don't forget like and subscribe. 5 years ago, a powerful nation Li and the virtual nation Choi began the war for the territories and lands. Rogue's father, the member of the most powerful assassination organization of Li, he turned into a triator in the height of the war and killed 2 of the top-level war heroes for the state. Since then, Li's state defeated and became the virtual one. And overnight, Rogue's father's reputation destroyed, his whereabouts unknown, and Rogue and his mom kept hostile in the village under strict surveillance, and as anyone can expect, their relatives and everyone ever known them before abandoned them and turned his back to them, and this intimidating, assaulting, and rejection from the people, which rooted deeply in the heart and the mind of Rogues and made him cold-blooded, and 5 years later, a strong young Rogue came out of nowhere and knocked down some boy telling him to fight back, while everybody startled, and one of these youth came up to him shouting, "You, son of the fucking triator, what's the matter? Your father betrayed our country? You should be killed." Rogues, with his hurt face and messed clothes that refers to a boy coming out of a hard fight, kept looking at him, no reaction, so the boy kept going. "What? Are you still don't want to admit it? Then look around. Do you see anyone coming to help you now?" Rogues looked around and saw the crowd that contains not even a one got his back, but the other way around. Everyone is looking at him with hate, and even the most of them cursing him out loud. But Rogue smiled and said that he used to it. The youth looked at him with terror and fear, and those glowing war spirit things have shown around his hands and body, and started to threat Rogue. "Even if you have a war spirit, so am I. Besides, my brother is a second-level war hero in Jianying College. So I'm warning you to dare and touch me." Rogues patronized and mocked him, smiling, and started to show off some of his power, telling him to stop nonsense talking, that he want to finish it fast to go home and catch dinner, and ran at him. And the other young boy managed to punch him, saying, "Come to taste my punch." Rogue, dodging the punch and hitting him with a very technical move, then choked his neck and pushed him to the ground. Everybody was shocked when Rogue told him that he can finish him with just one hit to his throat with his fist or even his finger and no need for the war spirit, and asked him, "Do you still want to fight?" The boy replied very fast, coughing with pain, "No, I don't want to fight anymore." Rogue stood up and walked away, saying, "Then get lost and don't show me your face again." The young boy's friends helped him standing, and he stood up and said with anger after Rogue's already gone, "I'ma make you pay for it, Rogues." As soon as Rogue arrived home, he saw his mom sitting on the floor cleaning that mess all over the place, and in his mind he's wondering, did the villagers make trouble again? But once his mom noticed him at home, she reassured him by smiling and telling him to wait till she finished cleaning. He responded, "Tell me again, Mom. Why should we take the consequences for Dad? Even if it's and he betrayed the country, why didn't he take us with him?" His mom cut this anger by hugging him and reassured him that his father didn't betray the country or even the organization. He told her that she's always saying that. After that, the night has come, and Rogue is starring at the selling where he's putting a photo of a member of the highest organization of the country, the photo of Phoenix, and kept thinking about how great that man is, that in a war against the dynasties, he destroyed 500 men by himself with his war spirit, which name is the 100 Bird, which is the reason why he's one of the 5 major war heroes. Rogue always dreamed of meeting him in person, and while he's remembering his father, a weird sound cut his memories, forcing him to stand up and look from the window, saying that villagers still trying to make trouble at late time. He decided to not forgive them anymore and came out of the home telling the one whoever made this sound to show up and don't hide. And then suddenly the boy from the morning came from the trees smiling, which amazed Rogue and made him asking him if he want to be beaten again. But the boy told him that, "You bastard, I told I'll make you pay for it. Come on, show me some." Rogue rushed at him, telling him to get away from his way, calling him grasshopper. But just before Rogue beat him up, he called his brother, and an enormous glowing blue fist came very fast behind the boy and hit Rogue, sending him about 10 feet back in the air. The fist was enormous, that it's maybe Rogue's size, and old brother stood by his brother's side, and both laughing and looked at Rogue, who was on the floor back then, And the older twin told his brother that he doesn't have to deal with these sort of brutal villains, such as Rogue, who's chosen the wrong enemies and opponents, and the young brother kept bullying Rogue, saying that his older brother is a second-level war hero in Lui College. He's gonna kill Rogue. And the poor Rogue, as he's laying on the ground, his face planted to it, nose bleeding, and got a black eye, which is enough for him to not be able to move or even hardly breathing, wondering, is that how the real fighters and heroes should be? The older brother interrupted Rogue's moaning and walking around him with this glowy monster behind him and saying, "When I came back home, I found my little brother crying and complaining from your violence to him, you bastard. Then don't pretend that you're being bullied by me. You're dead today, you bastard." Rogue, still stubborn with those eyebrows furrowed and thinking that if it wasn't his father, he would be in College and more powerful than this bastard, and how this is not fair. And the little brother voice broke the silence saying, "Kill him, brother. No one even care about him or care about his mother. Even nobody gonna know." His brother seemed convinced, and he even smiled and said, "Well, I think you're right, brother." Rogue was shocked, cause even if he know how brutal these two are, but he was surprised that they're brutal that much. The older brother stepped one step towards Rogue and mocked him by telling him to blame no but his father. He stood with cocky smile and told Rogue, "Don't worry, I'll make sure you die by my bare hands." Then raised his hand, and his monster, war spirit, did the same. And the little brother was goddamn super excited, and Rogue just gave up. Then the old brother act like he's crushing something. Then the monster copied the move, but it was above Rogue, who was on the floor. The dust and the sand's gone everywhere like there was a storm. Even Rogue's body isn't appearing. And the little amazed brother said, "Brother, you're very strong, just wow." And his brother smiled and said that he afraid it would be a pool of meat. The dust gone and the vision became clear, and the older twin looked scared as hell when he realized that Rogue's body isn't there in this hole in the ground that the monster did, and gone off and started looking for him, saying, "Where the hell did he disappear to? He couldn't be just survived from this hit. Find him, brother." And his little brother called him in frightening voice to make him look at this red big feather from some creature he respotted with no patience. As he started to focus, he noticed that there's thousands of this glowing feathers coming down from the skies, and both of them seemed like they were hit by a truck after they remembered that according to the first rule of the Bayong regulations, fighters aren't allowed to use their war spirit force against ordinary people. And the real is arrived, Phoenix, appeared with the enormous red wings which might be considered as the most powerful war spirit in the country, carrying the poor Rogue. And Rogue said, "That man, what a moment for Rogue to meet his idol for the first time in a situation like that. The Phoenix is a tall, calm man with a small creature on his arm, looking like a bird, and he looked upset too. Then Rogue looked up to him and said, 'He's the Phoenix.' The Phoenix, too, looked back to Rogue, and the older brother got his jaw dropped in surprise and repeated the same question. "The Phoenix, the member of the assassination organization. How is that even possible? I can't believe that." And said, while the sweat is covering his face, "How could a member of the assassination organization be here? And what for? That too for this bastard." The Phoenix looked at him with anger, and he frightened and said, "Don't misunderstand me, sir. I'll clarify it for you. I was just teaching this wild boy a couple of moves for a lil bit." And the Phoenix responded with a straight face. "As a fighter with a war spirit, you didn't just bully him, but you also tried to kill him." And looked at him with a great anger management and said, "As the national war hero, I will abolish your war hero status. Also crush and demolish your war spirit." The kid was totally choked and freezed, and he said to himself, "Is this a—" But he couldn't complete the sentence, as the Phoenix managed to fly very high, and his enormous wings appeared, and he just used his war spirit at the moment. Then the flames and fires gone everywhere. Then everything just gone, and a frog appeared by sleeping Rogue, and the Phoenix was still by Rogue's side. Slowly Rogue opened his eyes, which saw a lot for first time, and he turned around, found that Phoenix still with him, and Phoenix smiled and said, "Finally you are awake." Rogue quickly replied, "Thanks for your help. I will repay you with my life. If you have anything you want from me, please tell me. I will do my best to do it." Phoenix said, "No need." Then Rogue, with a bright face like the face of a celebrity fan, said, "I never thought I'd meet you. I adore you. My room is full of your posters." At that moment, Phoenix gazed to Rogue and said to himself, after being in a coma for 2 hours, his body and spirit are completely recovered. Realizing that, Rogue inquired, What's wrong?" Phoenix said, "Oh, nothing. and he tried to make him feel better, saying, "As for the two brothers, they're in deep trouble now. The elder brother seems to be from Jianying College, and he'll get the punishment he deserves for doing that. And as for your mother, I used the energy shield to protect her. I think she will sleep well now. So you don't need to worry anymore. It won't happen again." "I just don't understand those bastards." Rogue said that in confusion after standing up. Then Phoenix started thinking about whether he should ask Rogue that question. And after a few moments of thinking, he made his decision and asked Rogue, "Do you hate your father?" Rogue responded with furious and anger. "There's no need to mention that guy. I'm going to protect my mom and take care of her. That guy is not worthy of me and my mom." Phoenix tried to fix it and said that Rogue's father must be having a very hard time cause he and Phoenix used to be comrades in arms, and Phoenix know him well and know what he is like, and kept going telling Rogue that the situation back then still a mystery and he's trying to look for any clues to his father. But Rogue looked intentionally doesn't care about it and said that he doesn't care about it, and in fact that he doesn't mind if he is treasonous. Phoenix said, "Roger, believe me, your father loves you the most, more than anyone else. Otherwise, you can confirm it by yourself if you wish." Rogue turned around in surprise and asked what does he mean by saying that he can confirm it by himself. Phoenix said, "Lui College. Have you ever heard about it before?" Hearing that name, Rogue was shocked, as it is known that that place is a school. But not any school, as all the students there are criminals, and it's not even under the jurisdiction of any country, aside from their exiled sinners, or seeking the strongest seekers. And despite this, some of the most terrible criminals are revealed as a war heroes. Also, there's the dean is a super dangerous criminal wanted in 3 countries, and it's also totally independent of all the cities and countries. Then Phoenix added, "Your father comes from there, Rogue, so since you're not allowed to go to the national school, would you like to?" But he couldn't finish his words, as Rogue interrupted his words, saying with great enthusiasm and happiness, "I have a chance to get out of here. Go to other places, right? I can study like others, right? Yes, I'd like to go. And it's not about that man. I want to change the fate of me and my mom." Phoenix smiled and said, "And in that case, you will have to leave tomorrow morning. I heard that tomorrow is the deadline for the registration of Lui College." Rogue wondered sadly, "Tomorrow? But Mom." Phoenix reassured him, saying, "Rest assured I will explain it to her. You do not have to worry about this. Now go, arrange your stuff." In the next day, Rogue took the bus, and when he got off at the station, he wondered, is Lui College really here? It's just a desert and sands and nothing anywhere. He's in the middle of the nowhere, walking and sweating, asking if there's even anything here. Not a college in such this kind of places. But he's not all alone. He got that creature that was with Phoenix, and said in such an excitement, "Xiao Juji, I'm so excited, please guide me in the future." As Phoenix said to Rogue, "This little name is Xiao Juji. It's my little friend. Please let him accompany you as a partner." Then Rogue managed to get a map out of his back bag and looked at it, saying, "It's totally unclear, this map that Yuang gave me. However, if Rogue didn't move to look for the college, he would die in the middle of this desert from the lack of water and fresh breathe that he's already tired now. And after 3 hours walking in the middle of the wild nature, crossing the miles of desert that very similar, and seeing the dead bodies of the animals. The sweat covered Mad Rogue's face, which is turned into a red. Now he gone off and start to shout out of mad, saying, "You cheater guy, I followed the map, but why there's nothing here? And it's so damn hot. I'm so thirsty. I'm dying." But suddenly he noticed a very small old building or house made of wood, and he wondered, is that Lui College? This build. It was very tiny and small building. Even Rogue was sure it's not the college, and he thought that he started hallucinating because of the heat. But he decided to go and check it out. And after another half an hour, he reached that very old building made of wood and found an old woman sitting on a wheelchair by the building. She was making clothes in a very classic way. He tried to get her attention, saying, "Hey, Grandma, why are you knitting a jacket in the desert?" But she didn't even turn her face to him. So he asked another question. "Do you know where's the Lui College is? Because I have to register." Her smile didn't shake, and she's acting like if he's not even exist. But suddenly she finally looked at him and asked him with a very calm voice, "Why do you want to go there?" "Are you going to study?" He replied, "I had no idea. It had been nominated by Li Yuang, and I waited for this opportunity so long, and it will allow me to change." After she's being quiet for a while, she said, "It's inside, go and rake a look." He responded in anger, "What, inside, Grandma, are you kidding me?" And he added, "This small house is where you live. So the bottom line, that if you know where's the Lui College, tell me please." She responded with a wide smile and told him to go in and take a look. Then he apologized for distribution and went to the house. Once he knocked the door opened by itself, and he saw an empty house contains nothing. And she suddenly said, "You know your answers show a lot of confidence, Rogue." He was shocked and looked at her and said, "How did you know that my name is Rogue?" Then he heard a voice from the floor, and when he locked down, he found that the floor is opening like it's a secret door. And he fell through the floor and kept shouting, but the old woman didn't pay attention at all, and he asked for help thinking that he's gonna die, and he dropped from like a door in a virtual sky and fell off, a very hard fall on the ground, but the Xiaojuji was flying all that, and after a literally crush on the floor that caused a hole in it, then he stood up and shockingly said, "Grandma, were you trying to kill me or what?" And an out-loud automatic voice said, "Logged in, the administrator has announced that you have passed the test. You'll proceed to the next test." And when he focused and looked around, he noticed and heard that with no clue who said it and to whom, and the right person will be chosen through the competition. There's 100 standing in a very crowded place. And the voice kept telling this crowd, there are no limits on using any possible means, but killing is prohibited. The crowd looked excited and interested, but most of the people from this crowd are really looking horrible, with many scars and scary faces. Then, the voice carried on, and finally, welcome to Lui College. Rogue was still laying on the ground, and his face showed how he's nervous and terrified. After that, some from the people in the college who were in the crowd noticed that Rogue's here, and one of them turned around and went for Rogue saying, "Oh, looks like we'll have some soft little meals here. How has the admission system at the college become that low?" And kept talking to Rogue. "Hey, little boy, let me show you my stone fist so you're gonna understand the difference between here and outside." A giant man, maybe double-sized, the one who was talking, and told him to move out of his way. And the one with the stone fist kept looking at the giant one and told him okay, then hit him with a very powerful punch and said, "Taste my fist first, then let's see if you can say get out of the way again or not. My fists make heavy things move from their place. Even if you're an elephant, you will bleed to death." The giant interrupted his cocky speech and did like a bear hug to him. The one with the stone fist said in surprise, "Why can you still move? Let me go." But the giant hardened his body till he crushed the other one back, and everybody was literally jaw-dropped and frightening from this brutal fight. And one said, "Who the hell even don't know this guy? The giant Tai Jang is famous for the strength of his armor, and also he's among the most strongest of his course. How repugnant. I hope I won't face him in the evaluation." The giant gone and left the one with the stone fist on the floor, and left Rogue saying, his energy pressure is really awesome, as well as he didn't care who was talking about him. Then Rogue smiled and said, "Lui University is really interesting. If they were like the villagers, it would be really boring as hell." And he continued saying, "Yuang, I want to see that mystery about this college that you mentioned. I must find out what kind of places it really is." As the crows flying everywhere, he said, "I won't let anyone stop me. I won't allow this to happen. No, this is my last chance, and I'm gonna use it this time." In a sunny day in the building of Lui College, in the office, a man was just pushed very hard to the wall fast, and even he wasn't able to even stand up and sat on the floor, both of his black eyes closed out of damage, all his face damaged, and have scars everywhere, and bleeding from more than one part of his face and body, even the wall behind him crushed from this push, a man sitting down and all around him, a glowing war spirit saying, "I told you can't sell things here, you're such an obedient boy," and he adjusted his sunglasses and smiled with this glowing force around him, which refers to his war spirit and his smile with those teeth that making him looking like a vampire, and he said, "Always pissing me off." Then someone knocked the door, and this man with the glasses allowed him to come in, and the big man who knocked on the door said, "Director," and he responded, "Mr. Gao, what is the matter?" Mr. Gao said. The assessment about to start. Don't you want to see the performance of this session? The director told him that he's not going to join the party for the assessments of those children, and continued his talking saying, I heard that the son of that person will come too, Gao responded, and the heir of the Zai family gonna attend the assessment too. The director smiled and said, I see. Looks like they're gonna be a lot of fun. Then the announcer in the college said in the speakers, Attention everyone. In the assessment is about to start. Pay attention to the rules. 1. The target is the crow in the Lui College. And actually everybody listened carefully and in super excitement. And in Rogue's mind, Crow? What crow? Is it a doll? And the second rule came up right after. Rule number 2. There are a lot of crows in the college, and the mission is to catch the crowd carrying a scrolls. If the ankle is tied with pass, you gotta keep it well. If it's kept with you until the end of the time, it's considered to be passed. The crow's already looking mad before anything. And the voice announce finished saying, There's no limits on the means. It's forbidden to destroy the mouth. The time limit is 3 hours. And there's a 50 crows carrying the pass. Rogue was totally shocked and said, A 50 crows? Other words, only 50 people gonna pass. There's almost 1,000 of people in here. Is the pass rate very low? And what the hell is that? They're not even surprised. Did they already know the rules of Lui College before? Xiao Juji said before flying to the air from Rogue's shoulder. It seems like I gotta do my best, too. The announcer kept it a literal fire, saying, Well then, and everybody was super ready and excited, even the crows. Some smiling in confidence, and others are trying to be ready like if it's a marathon. And Rogue smiled, too. Then announcer said, It's time. The assessment begins. Then the crows gone as fast as possible. The director said, Here we go. This time I really looking forward to it, those two boys. Don't let me down. I want to get along with you. And Gao kept shaking his head in approval. Absolutely nothing is happening at all, just Rogue looking around. It's been half an hour, and Rogue just walking around don't know what to do, and whistling then said, It's been half an hour, and I didn't see any crow. And where did Xiao Juji go? Just know. What a bastard partner and companion who went to play by himself. And out of nowhere, a crow passed by very fast. Then Rogue said, Finally appeared, you little crow. Then he jumped after it, trying to catch it. But when the crow noticed him coming after, the crow did a series of loud caws, changed the destination and speed. Rogue told the crow, You made me wait so long, just behave and don't get away and come to me. And once he touched a feather of the crow jumped aside, left him amazed. Then he grabbed a strong thing made of steel coming out of building and said, Interesting. Then he used it to land on the floor and gone off. And he started to show up some power and released his war spirit saying, You little crow, it's such a great honor to use my war spirit to catch you, and jumped after the crow, and got too close to the crow, thought he caught it saying, Got you. But out of sudden, with a lightning fast, the giant Tai Jang jumped and hit the wall of some building, crushing it to become very close to Rogue and the crow. As the glass, wood, and stones pieces coming out from the damaged building, Rogue looked directly at him with astonishment and shock. But Tai Hang hit Rogue, who's already caught the crow, and the hit pushed Rogue some miles away, and the crow gone to the giant's hand, who landed on the floor like a goddamn King Kong, causing mess everywhere he goes, but poor Rogue have been pushed through the buildings and crushed to walls. Then Tai Jang said, I got the crow, little kid, thanks, and what a good luck that crow has the pass. And he took the scroll or the pass from the crow's ankle, and he decided to let the crow go, telling it, Now you can go, smelly crow. At that moment, Rogue came from behind, stood up, and he rushed with his war spirit very fast towards Tai Jang. Tai noticed that Rogue came like a flash, took the scroll and left Yang speechless, and said, Don't rush to say thanks. Jang kept looking at him while Rogue continued saying, After all, I didn't say even a word about giving the crow or the scroll to you, did I? The giant smiled and responded, You, nice speed, little kid, but I don't think this is gonna work on me, not even a bit. And if you don't know me, I'm the giant Tai Jang. Now you know my name before you fall down. And the giant started to reveal his power and war spirit, saying, At least I'm gonna make you fall down without pain, kid. Although I can't summon my war spirit, but my bronze wall and iron wall power is enough for you. But Rogue interrupted this bragging and literally went like a spear towards him and sprinted and hit him with all his power. Tai Jang just moved a little bit against Rogue's war spirit, then stopped like a rock while Rogue's trying to hurt and hit him. Then Tai Jang said, As I said, "That's not gonna work on me, kid." And he hardened his fist and managed to hit Rogue, but Rogue noticed that and blocked it, though he blocked the punch. But he moved back 10 meters and his mouth started to bleed, and he's thinking and feeling that his internal organs are disturbed. And Jang smiled after he noticed that and said, "It just seems like you're a little bit faster. You just like that kid before. Both of you are just a waste." And he managed to hit Rogue again, telling him, "Then let me teach you a lesson, kid. This place isn't somewhere where you can come for, you little bastard." Rogue dodged the punch very fast and jumped away from him, letting his fist hit the ground and crushing it. Rogue kept looking at him till the giant laughed and said, "You're trying to hide, don't you?" Then Rogue sprinted at him saying, "Then I'll take the initiative, big man." And he jumped very high and managed to kick him in the face. It was damn hard kick to the face. Even Jang lost balance and his mouth started to bleed, which pissed him off, and the giant said to Rogue, "Then die. Nobody gonna notice you disappearance." And he closed his hands tightly together and hit Rogue, saying, "The mountain hammer," and he hit him hard, hard that he crushed the ground and the flying gray smoke went everywhere. Then smiled and said, "One of the things you don't know how to survive." And he managed to leave while touching his body parts that hurt, saying, "We'll turn in ashes. I've wasted too much time getting involved with unimportant little people." But Rogue stood up again and told him, "You're really strong," leaving Tai Jang speechless and freezed in his place. And while the bleeding is covering him everywhere, he said, "You're the second strongest man I've ever met." The giant, still shocked, calling Rouge little bastard. Rogue told him, "I can't let you fall me down here, big man. I'll beat you." As the gray smoke is all over the place, Rogue was standing behind Tai Jang with a distance between them, and he was bleeding and spitting the blood that coming out of his mouth and telling the giant in challenge that he will beat him. The giant smiled a wide smile and said, "You're a real surprise, little kid." And the flames and fires started to come out of him and carried on. "But I've wasted too much time on you, kid," which made Rogue stood up in a shock. And the war spirit monster of Tai Jang, which is looking like a stone monster throwing flames, started to show up behind Tai Jang, who told Rogue that although that his war spirit won't last long, it's more than enough to finish Rogue. And he said, "I'll show you my war spirit stone beast." Rogue in fear said that he has nothing else to do. There's only one thing he can do, while showing up some of his glowing war spirit, which is making the dust and gray smoke flying around him, saying that it's his best. And the flames became harder and moving faster. Then Tai Jang rushed at him saying, "You should feel honored seeing my war spirit, you little coward. Suffer death, you fucking bastard." After that, he jumped very high, and the monster prepared a very hard fist. Rogue tried with his best to block the punch using his war spirit and saying, "That's a lot of power pressure." Tai Jang and the stone monster got too close to Rogue, who blocked the punch. And when Jang's war spirit hit the war spirit of Rogue's block, it did like an earthquake, which made Rogue pushed back and coughed a blood in a great pain, made his eyes teary and his eye peels about to come out. Tai Jang smiled in confidence and said, "Oh, spitting blood? Spitting blood isn't good, you know." But surprisingly, Rogue used his war spirit and hardened his fist, and his punch was very fast, even Jang didn't notice it. Then he hit him in the neck with a very weak impact, and in return, Jang kept a straight angry face and prepared his fist and said, "Your attack," and shouted, saying in a reaction of him and the monster can scare the shit of anyone. It feels like tickles to me. And he managed to hit Rogue, but Rogue blocked it again and moved fast to hit him in the armpit with almost no real impact on Tai Jang. And with another fast punch, hit him once again, which pissed Tai Jang off and made him shout, "You stupid kid, I told you that your attacks are useless. I'll show you how a real attack's be done." And he performed a move called Devastating Mountain Earthquake, which damaged Rogue again and made Jang ask, "So, still spitting a blood?" Then Rogue coughed and stepped one step back and got ready to perform something special. Tai Jang asked him, "Feeling like shit?" and rushed very fast with the stone monster towards Rogue, saying, "If you want to die, let me grant you that wish, kid." And as Rogue's coming towards him too fast too, he prepared a punch and made Yang taste the lightning speed of his punch on Jang's face. But in return, Jang delivered a clear, powerful punch to Rogue's middle, sent him away from Jang, who stood as a dinosaur. Poor Rogue was laying on the floor, can't even move. He's clearly not moving at all, even his eyes closed. Jang adjusted his face while he's smiling and saying, "You idiot, are you expecting anything else with these weak attacks?" Then he laughed and said, "Now my war spirit can go back. I no longer need it," and started to mock Rogue, asking him that if he thinks that he can hurt him if he fused his war spirit into his fists, calling him a stupid, and kept looking at the ground where Rogue's laying down, telling him, "My iron wall is unbreakable, got it, kid?" But Tay said in shock, "This kid hasn't fallen yet," with a damaged, shocked face telling it all, after Rogue interruption telling him, "Everyone has weakness, big man, and the bigger you're, the bigger the weakness." And after Rogue stood up and managed to come out of the gray smoke saying, "Although you're a big man and your body is solid, you're still flesh and blood, so there has to be weakness." Finally, Rogue totally standing up and touching his ribs that might be broken after the last punch from Jang, but Jang interruption came so nervous and angry. "Shut the fuck up, you little bastard. What a little shit like you gonna do to me? You think you're gonna destroy me with a single punch?" Rogue responded in confidence. "Have you ever been stung with a bee?" Jang was confused, asking, "A bee? What the hell are you talking about?" Rogue started to describe how the bee's stinging detailed description. "When a bee stings someone, it hurts more after a while when the poison enters the skin and swells." And Rogue clarified it saying, "Those punches just now were all in vulnerable places on your body," and he smiled and tried to clear that blood all over his body and carried on in confidence. "Your armpits, your neck, and on the front of your face, if the injected spirit is pulled away in an instant, your body will suffer from a huge damage," which made Yang for the first time looking like a scared little kid and started to notice that injection effect on his body. Then Rogue told him, "Then it's time to pull," and Jang Screamer begging him, wait, just a second." Then Rogue did his hard move, which named the sharp edge. Then the blood and the injected war spirit got out of him, in a pretty painful feeling made him for the first time feel the pain that much. And Jang looked like a dead man or zombie, his eyes balls almost out and bloody and spitting blood. And as he bleeding said, "How could this be?" Then Jang was totally gone and fainted like if he was knocked out. And Rogue smiled a cocky smile and said, "I told you at the beginning, no need to thank me." Rogue managed to turn around, leaving. "I'll take the pass. Thank you, big man." Leaving Tai Jang in a situation can force anyone to pity him. In another place, more beautiful and gorgeous, where the Mother Nature is playing the leading role and the scene of fountains and the green area is looking tremendous. Mr. Jai and the little girl were standing in front of the waterfall. The little girl told Mr. Jai, "Mr. Jai Wang, the entrance is behind the waterfall, then how we can get there?" Mr. Jai didn't respond and looked super focused. Then she asked him again, "Young master, won't you be late?" Then he raised his hand and pointed to the waterfall and raised his finger. Right after that hand gesture, the waterfall motion changed. Then the entrance appeared from behind the falling water right away, while Mr. Zhao telling Xiaoxia, "You talk too much," and he managed to put his hand above the little girl's head, telling her not to move. Then he created a glowing bubble out of sudden surrounding her and made her floating, and she was surprisingly almost flying, and saying, "I'm floating." And they stepped into the water, going to the entrance saying, "Let's go. We're here, Lui College." Back to the college, where a crow came and stood on Tai Jang's face, who was still on the ground, and the crow decided to shit on him maybe as a punish. Then he felt that and tried to wake up and barely sit, making the crow fly away. Then he started to say, "Oh my head, that kid. I didn't expect him to have that up his sleeve. It's weird because it's not as if he's weaker than the others." That moment with himself was interrupted by someone appeared with his war spirit energy out of nowhere above some building saying, "There's a bird shit on your face. A cheerful one with a big quiet smile and a big scar on his face under his eye. And his war spirit monster look-alike a tall mummy with red eyes and black skin and wrapping some body parts and standing like an old pharaoh crossing his hands on his chest." And the frightened Tai Jang said while he was apparently scared as hell, "The real Zhan Ying! Why is Zhan Ying in the assessment area?" Zhan Ying jumped and landed on the floor with the mummy look-alike war spirit behind Tai Jang, and Zhan Ying said in trolling Jang, "I saw your fight with that kid. You lost so badly." Embarrassed, Tai Jang asked if he can help him with anything to make him stop thinking that he can feel the power of this guy and can feel how hard he has this feeling that they're not on the same level. And this smiley man who said to Tai Jang, "This boy is very interesting as he injects his war spirit energy into weak points within the body. then pulls it out, trying to remind Jang of what happened back in the fight, then mentioning that he can't wait to fight Rogue and Tai Jang, thinking that he's being ignored and feeling sorry for himself. As Jianying is turning around and going to leave, he stopped, and with the same smile said, "Oh yes, I was about to forget. What did you say you are? An iron wall?" Tai Jang responded very fast, trying to fix the things about that dangerous situation. "No, I wouldn't dare to. That's just the attribute of the fighting spirit." The guy told him a fighting spirit with a high defense attribute. Let's see it. That was at the time that Yang was smiling and something very fast passed by his face, or maybe through his face, and Jang was asking him what does he mean, but that thing passed by separated Jang's face into a half, and the guy kept going saying, "That's funny," while his war spirit was literally dividing Jang into pieces and using a delusional big swords to tear Jang into pieces. At that moment, someone putting in earphones touched it to take a phone call telling the one in the other side to speak. Now obviously it's Mr. Gao and he's standing and making calls while the director sitting in front of him turning his back to Mr. Gao and drinking a hot drink. Mr. Gao was saying all right to the one on the phone and told the director that, "Director, the assessment zone was mixed Jianying's spirit," and the creepy director turned his face to him, smiled, and said, "Well, this happens almost every time. In a sense, it is also an assessment, right?" Gao responded, This time, a candidate has been killed, and from the scene point of view, it should be one of the class-wanted criminals." The director lost his temper and screamed, saying, "So hot," after taking a sip of the coffee. Then he started to sweat, saying in fear, a class criminal, and you probably don't know that. The world of wanted criminals is generally divided into 3 classes: Class A, Class B, and Class C. And there's an extremely rare class, which is Class S. Class A is a group of people who have killed too many people, that they're defined by the state as an extremely vicious group. Then the director left the coffee on the table saying, "I can't reassured for every assessment we take." Then the director stood up and adjusted his clothes, telling Gao, "Let's go. I don't want to be blamed by an old man." And Gao told him yeah in approval. And back to the assessment zone, the announcer said, "There's only 30 minutes left. Hurry up." Rogue appeared fighting someone and forcing him to step back, and it seems like Rogue's the one who taking the lead in that fight. Rogue's just moving forward and hitting him while the other one is just defending himself and trying to find a way out of this pressure. That muscular guy who's fighting Rogue, he got a better physique, and his muscles apparently way better and bigger than Rogue. He was deep inside, shocked by Rogue's abilities and thinking, what is that kid? So oppressive spiritual attack. What kind of monster is he? And Rogue noticed that and said, "Don't get distracted," like if Rogue was reading his mind. And that boy was totally surprised before Rogue punched him with a very clear and hard hook to his stomach. A very hard punch that he was hurt and been cause of the pain. Rogue smiled and told him, "It's very dangerous to get distracted." Rogue released his war spirit energy while punching, which made the boy fly away by this unbearable energy by Rogue, while Rogue saying, "It's all over." And the kid was sent miles away, flying and spitting blood. He dropped on the floor, while that guy laying on the floor, totally knocked out and even nearly dead and bleeding on the ground. Rogue came close to him and said, "Fourth one," which is insane to believe that Rogue did all that, and it's his first assessment in the college. Then Rogue's face clearly appeared, and we can see all that blood on his face that refers to the number of unbelievable strong opponents that he has faced and beaten through the nearly 2 hours assessment. And he said, the closer the end time, the more people will be killed halfway to try to grab the pass. It's really annoying to deal with it. And looked at the dead body of the one who was fighting as it was totally gone and passed away. And Rogue carried on saying, "Let's finish this. It's exhausting." And he looked at the blood on his own hand, which made him start to remember some of his memories, the words that his father used to say. Little Rogue directing of the spirit into the body have different effects. When his father used to play with him, Rogue hardened his fist with his war spirit energy and said, "I didn't expect to come out this time, but Dad's words gave me a lot of inspiration." Rogue started to remember how great is Phoenix and said, "I don't know how to compare him to Phoenix, but after all, he was a member of the assassination organization. But no, Phoenix must be the strongest one ever. He's my idol." Rogue said that, and he was literally turning into a baby. Then someone clapped and applauded him coming from behind, saying, "Wonderful trick, not bad." Then Rogue turned around, wondering who the hell is that guy. That guy is Zhan Ying, who smiled as usual and said in interest, "You really starting to interest me as a fighter, Rogue." He seemed to be very weird and creepy, standing behind Rogue with his hair covering his forehead and eyes, wearing a very long shirt, looking like the superhero's custom, telling Rogue with that scary smile, "I've been looking for you for a long time ago, kid." Rogue looked annoyed, saying, "Are you here to rob the past too?" The response startled Zhan Ying, who tried his best to not show this, though he was wondering deeply what's going on. What's wrong with this person? He's totally different from the others here, and told Rogue, "Did you say the pass?" No, I'm not interested in that thing," and walked towards Rogue saying, "I'm more interested in taking you apart," which made Rogue take his position and look ready to fight him, saying, "What the fuck? Stop talking nonsense. If you want to fight, just come right here, weirdo." And in trolling and provoking smile, Zhan Ying responded, "What a fighting little boy you are." In that while Zhan Ying raised his hand and threw a thing with his first fingers toward Rogue, that thing was like a stone came out of his hand like a shot. That thing passed very fast by Rogue's cheek, and that thing cut off Rogue's cheek and started to bleed, and while Rogue is totally shocked and touching the cut on his face with disbelief said, "Is this spiritual energy?" In the other side, Zhan Ying was totally confident and smiled while saying, "That's right. Oh, I can smell blood," and released his war spirit energy around him flying and carried on. Ah, that smell. Only this smell can make people intoxicated. And some of these energy started to take the shape of a sword in Zhan Ying's hands while he's telling Rogue that, for the pleasure of taking you apart, I apologize in advance, but at least I'll give you a little respect when I do it and finish you. And the other sword existed in Zhan Ying's other hand. He smiled and told Rogue after crossing the war spirit swords, "Nice to meet you. My name is Moon Bayong and I am your killer." The jaw dropped Rogue. Rogue's mind was crowded with thoughts. A spiritualized sword? I can't let him take the lead in the fight. First, I'll cover my whole body with spirit. And Rogue started to get ready and surround himself with war spirit energy to defend himself. Then Rogue thought that he gotta concentrate as long as Zhan Ying is moving. I'll find out the flaw of his action. When Zhan Ying noticed what Rogue managing to do and said, "Hey, it seems you just used spirituality to this point, which is not interesting enough," and grabbed the sword and told Rogue, "Let me show you how it works." Then he threw the sword towards Rogue. The sword flew pretty fast. Rogue stood with no reaction, just facing his fate and looking at the sword. And the sword went through Rogue's stomach very fast, that even when he got stabbed, he flew back like 4 steps. And the poor Rogue was totally demolished, and the blood covered his mouth, and the wounded Rogue barely standing, and Zhan Ying's hand was still up in the air and coming out of it some energy of war spirit. And he told Rogue, "This level of attack cannot be avoided, kid. It's not bearable. That's not gonna work, kid." While the blood's still coming out of Rogue's mouth, and Rogue is thinking about how much that attack hurts him, and he's sure that his abdomen has been penetrated and he's literally shaking from the pain. And Zhan Ying started to mock Rogue, saying, "Oh dear, I'm sorry I don't know how much this hurts, but actually I don't care. I thought you already knew something about spiritual power, but looks like I guessed wrong." He did some special moves against Rogue with his energy, saying, "It seems that you don't even know the side of the spirit yet, or even the meaning of it. Your way of attack simply directing spiritual power into a parts of the body," and he managed to drop some knowledge to teach Rogue something, saying, "Spiritual directing in different parts of body, such as arms, head, body, feet, has different effects, but this is also the most basic thing to do. The advanced usage is to integrate the spirit and mind into the desired shape." Then suddenly Zhan Ying raised his hand and nearly threw a big load of energy towards Rogue, saying, "And this is the concretization." And normally Rogue startled and thought if that attack is going to hit him again. But Rogue was alert enough to dodge it, and Zhan Ying's reaction was laughing and telling Rogue, "Oh, you managed to dodge it this time." And he made a hand gesture, making it return and come back to Rogue from behind to stab him in his shoulder from behind, making Rogue totally shocked and hurt again. Seeing the blood blow out of his chest made him fall on all 4 while the blood came out faster and faster, and he's not able to control this situation. Realizing that he has no longer any power left, Zhan Ying laughed and waved to Rogue, telling him, "When you have deeper understanding of spiritual power, you can control the direction very well and adjusted his weapons, saying, "Your father, Roger Gato, didn't he teach you anything?" And the wounded rogue was on the ground, suffering from the pain, and from those words, Zhanying, in vengeance, performed a very hard move named the Glory Dance. The move made Rogue literally fly away. How poor he's can't even resist any move, and before the blackout, his mind gone. Even here, I can't get away from father's reputation. At that time, Mr. Jai Wang looked at the sky saying, "There's such an extremely strong spiritual attack happened." And he told the little girl who was searching for something in someone's pocket while he's walking away, "Let's go." And the girl found a scroll, or we can call it the pass, saying, "Oh, I got it," and carried all the pass scrolls or passes and said, "We got a 20 of it right now." But Mr. Zhan Wang told her that while he's walking away between the dead bodies and the injured people, 2 of the passes is enough. Throw away the rest of the scrolls. And she responded, and she was upset. Okay, master." And back to where Rogue was suffering there by the gray smoke by some building, Mr. Gao and the director arrived at the place where Rouge and Moon Bayong were fighting. Then the director adjusted his eyeglasses, smiled, and said, "Such an inflated spiritual attack like that is easy to find. It seems that the other party is not afraid of the Lui College." And when he saw Moon Bayong, he said, "So, this troubled guy, when did he get back? Damn it, I knew that he'll cause some trouble to us." And when the director focused, he wondered who is Bayong arguing with. It's rare to see him angry. As soon as the smoke cleared, he saw Rogue and said, "Oh, he is fighting with Rogue." Mr. Gao, with his suit and war spirit red unique energy, got ready and said, "I'll go down and take Rogue away." But the director stopped him, saying no, and then said, "Take it easy, let's take a look at what happens." And he was thinking, these two finally met, but the drama has developed in a unique way. "Rogue, let me see what can you do, Ghetto's son," Bayong told Rogue. "I'm sorry I got a little carried away, but as soon as I mentioned your father's name, I couldn't hold back my emotional. As his son, it seems that he hasn't taught you any of his abilities. Was he not willing to teach you?" Rogue, totally exhausted with no reaction, and not able to move at all, thinking, "In the end, were my efforts futile?" Then Bayong smiled and said, "That's right. This level of attack doesn't make you realize anything." He managed to let his war spirit monster by hardening his hands and saying, "Come on out," and his war spirit appeared in a special move called Amitabha. With that load of energy and power of the war spirit around Bayong and his Amitabha, Bayong said, "Now let's be serious," and nothing just controlling Rogue's feelings more than feeling sorry for himself and thinking, "I'm really working hard. So, why?" With tension and fear, Mr. Gao said, "Why can't you let me move forward a bit? Director, really aren't you going?" The director stood in his place watching with concern and not responding to Gao, while Bayong managing to perform a deadly move on Rogue called Amitabha Rainstorm. Bayong did it and just did the sign to finish everything. And it's all over. The impact of that move was like a goddamn apocalypse. Hundreds of swords and sharp things stabbed Rogue and got into every inch of his body. Zhanyang said, "Well, you made me a little bit disappointed, Rogue." In that while Rogue's blood covered him and the ground, and he seemed to be totally finished and maybe dead. After letting Rogue go, Bayong looked up to both of the director and Mr. Gao, and after smiled that smile, he said, "The two above, how long do you plan to watch?" And after they noticed he was talking to them above the building, he carried on, "You're also curious about this kid, aren't you?" But the jaw dropped, and the totally shocked director asked him in return, "Moon Bayong, aren't you afraid of the dean who's gonna surely blame you for all this mess?" But the unpredicted respond came from Bayong, trying to tell the director that he didn't do anything wrong or brutal. He was just trying to give the director a hand of getting rid of the trash, and threatening the director by telling him that he gotta at least have and pay more respect for him after all that, cause he's an old senior of Lui College. And if we ever thought to get in Rogue's mind, who's barely breathing out and having his last couple of minutes alive or maybe dead already, if we ever heard his mind, we would hear that. "My chest is so cloudy it's strange. I shouldn't fall down here at all." Imagining he's standing and saying, "This is my last chance. I don't like it. I really hate it." Then saw his mother in his imagination with her cheerful face and told her, "Mom, it's no use. We can't change our destiny, Mom. I hate them, Mom. Seriously, I hate them from the bottom of my heart. I hate everything that makes me miserable more." Rogue started to mix up the reality and the illusions and started to see himself and the blood flying away from him, while Zhan Ying's swords and sharp things still established in Rogue's body, and he's deep inside screaming and saying that he hate this world, he hate the whole world, if he just can or it's even possible. And out of this crowded mind, Rogue somehow managed to stand up while chicken legs and every single organ is definitely shaking, while those damn swords on his body, and as the blood is flying upwards like if it's a reversed rain, Rogue, who was minutes ago laying on the ground, stood up somehow. Like if he's hunted, Rogue stood up, and every sword and every sharp thing's breaking one by one as he's still getting on his feet, and no one is noticing him till now. Back to that conversation between Zhan Ying and the shocked director, who asked him, "Do you mean that you're totally ready to go against the dean?" In that while there's something hit Mr. Gao, then hit Zhan Ying's back, and Mr. Zhai Wang appeared looking sharp and solid, and Xiao, the little girl, is following him, and when he stopped, she got her nose hit of Mr. Zhai's leg, which made her, in a hilarious reaction, ask him, "Mr. Zhai Wang, is it swollen?" And he's not thinking about anything but only one thing in his mind. This smell? And it seems that there's a bigger and more brutal version of Rogue is coming back to live, and this version isn't coming back alone, looking like this version got a company this time. An enormous one is coming with Rogue. And now he's standing, showing up some power and some supernatural abilities, with empty eyes but filled with evil and revenge. Zhan Ying gave a great laugh, refer to his hard tries to hide his tension and fear from that coming back from death, Rogue, and told Rogue, "Rogue, you still haven't let me down." And the director, who's already shocked from Rogue, he's now shocked even more cause of Rogue's war spirit monster, wondering, what kind of war spirit is that? Which is like a demon. It's like if Bayong sent Rogue to the hell, then Rogue came back but brought that monster with him this time, that black monster with 2 red flaming eyes and 2 long horns. After that, Zhan Ying kept acting with his disbelief and told Rogue, "Yeah, Rogue, that's what it should be. That's how the son of Gato should be." Rogue's first respond was telling Bayong not to mention Rogue's father's name again. Then Rogue managed to put his hand on Bayong, which made the war spirit hit Zhan Ying, that devil's hand going towards Bayong with those big, long, sharp nails and that glowing red flame in the monster's hand. The director shouted with fear and tension at Bayong, "Avoid it!" Rogue's war spirit hit the ground and literally destroyed it. Pieces of the ground flew everywhere, and Rogue's the only one who was still standing with no hesitation in this almost a storm or worst. Everybody's covering his face and impressed with this insane spiritual attack. Nobody got hit by this attack, but everyone's thinking how this was a very close. The director gone crazy after this attack, and looked terrified too, saying, "It seems that Moon Bayong gonna cause more trouble." Bayong, with his war spirit, moved like 4 or 5 meters back and safely avoided that attack, and he's thinking what kind of fierce attack is this and how it's completely different from Rogue's previous momentum. Poor Bayong, gonna pay with his life for what he did to Rogue. He noticed a voice telling him, "Avoided?" Then when he turned around to find out that Rogue is managing to punch him a hell of a punch with all what he got of power, punch made Bayong's face literally fold and sent him miles away through a building, making a big hole in it. The gray smoke of the demolished building covered the scene while Bayong came out laughing and rushing at Rogue with his spiritual sword, saying, "Blood! You made me bleed, little Rogue." Rogue is still standing as he stood before that punch, with no reaction and a poker face, and the mad Bayong performed with his sword the move that finished Rogue before, the glory dance, but as anyone can expect, it finished the old Rogue but not gonna work with the new one. His spiritual energy, or that monster, somehow stopped the glory dance with just the edge of the finger, not an expression. That monster with the devil looking raised a hand and used one finger of it to block that attack, which made Bayong totally shocked and literally jaw-dropped and freezed in his position. And Rogue's watching all that in confident and with a straight face. The director's mind blowed and said, "I can't believe that Rogue has just stopped Moon Bayong's attack with one finger," and looked at Mr. Gao that he was impressed too and said, "Besides, if you look closely, it seems that Rogue's unconscious." And Mr. Gao responded, "The intense killing intention on him seems to be the reason that supports him to continue fighting now." After staring at Rogue and his face for a minute and finding out he became a blood cold and looking like he's gonna be something worse, the director said, "No, that is hate," but interrupted the quietness in the air, Bayong, by making fun of Rogue, saying, "Come on, Rogue, that is not enough. Can you make me more excited? I'm really very interested in your war spirit. I wonder if your father will be proud of you. Rogue respond came faster than expected, telling him with a smile and incredibly powerful spiritual energy, said, I'll kill you to shut you up, with his war spirit monster preparing an unbelievable powerful energy. And all of Mr. Gao, the director, and Bayong are frightening from this coming up attack, and all of them thinking, what a terrifying energy. Suddenly, the young master Jai Wang appeared from behind some building and the little girl, and he was thinking, there's a strange smell. Why does that smell bothering me so much? It makes me so restless and upset. The little girl asked him in concern, young master, are you all right? He responded a very short respond, telling her he's fine. But the little girl noticed that he's in blue, and she thought that it's rare to see young master in such an unstable mood. Back to the scene of excitement, Rogue stood up in confidence and appreciation to his power and control and told Bayong that he's going to kill him, and aimed his energy at Bayong to destroy him with a new shape of energy. But Bayong said, come on, Rogue, let me see more blood. That smell, Rogue, the smell of blood. And he managed to perform his best and hardest attack, the extreme dragon dance, and it's looking like a dragon's enormous glowing face. The director gone mad cause of his excitement about that clash and said, is finally Bayong finally getting serious again? That makes me really excited. Then Rogue and Bayong rushed at each other with their war spirit, but in the middle of this clash, something came from the skies with a lightning fast that it's looked like an alien coming down. The surprise is, the thing that coming down from the skies is the old woman that was sitting at the college's door, which Rogue saw before enter the college, coming down with a straight mad face shouting, nonsense! The director noticed, and that startled him, and she in a seconds landed in the middle of the clash with her war spirit, which is looking like Myth Buddha. After that great landing that old woman did in the middle of the hard upcoming clash between Rogue and his war spirit and Bayong and his war spirit, she landed with her, the Myth Buddha looking golden war spirit, a seconds before this clash happens, making both of them fly away from her with a mad face looking at them. Mr. Gao, with terrified face and voice, said in disbelief, Deputy Dean! And the director too screamed, saying, Granny Gaia! And he looked a little bit the screaming man in the scream painting. As Rogue's flying away, he's thinking, this person, isn't this the granny? Who say in front of the house? And even Bayong is very confused and wondering what the hell is going on, and when he landed on the floor and started to think, she stopped both of the attacks, mine and Rogue's attack, by one move. But the thing is, she's the deputy dean of the college, and also she's the gatekeeper of the Luogi College, and she's the Buddha Gaia. All those names or even more of this mysterious woman. The move she did sent Rogue with his big load of energy and power away, making him fly away, hitting the buildings, and the impact of his war spirit energy hitting the buildings made the buildings fall and demolished, made all the college hesitate, made everybody surprised and covered his face surely, made even the young master Jai Wang and the little girl feel that power. But Bayong's not thinking about anything except that shocking event. What a shock this woman caused old lady Gaia. If he hadn't come to stir up some trouble, he surely wouldn't see any of these things. The deputy dean said it with straight face, ordering, both of you two get down, making both of Mr. Gao and the director bend and bow for her paying respect and saying, hello, Deputy Dean, Granny Deputy Dean. Then she slapped the shit of Mr. Gao, making him bleed and folding his face like a paper, and after less than a second, she punched the director a hell of a punch, made his glasses fly, and made him literally spit some of his teeth out, and pulled the director closely to her, asking him with straight face and powerful voice, do you want them to demolish the college? Did you have a good time, you idiot? Huh? The director was listening with a bit of resistance, and the deputy kept going, saying, don't you realize that Rogue can't control this amount power yet? Or in fact, even being manipulated, this kid doesn't even know what's happening or what's going on. This kind of uncontrollable power is the most annoying ever. And she added, besides, you actually indulged this uncontrollable power making him crazy, and you're still enjoying it up there. What is that? Do you need a hot tea and melon seeds for better watching and enjoyment? Huh? The director responded with a sweat and blood running down on his face, trying to make the things looking better. We just wanted to know what Rogue's strength is. But the deputy kicked his face, stopping him from finishing his words, saying, shut up and cut that shit off. That's a lot of bullshit. How can we trust you and leave the college in your hands? What should I tell the dean right now? Mr. Gao's sitting in the floor ain't doing anything but just repeating, "It's none of my business. It's none of my business." A voice interrupted that, saying, "The deputy dean's spirit is still as good as ever." And Moon Bayong came from being walking quietly, saying, "I came to see you," and smiled his signature smile and with his cracked face. Then the deputy dean turned around and looked at him with no concern, then turned her back to him again, saying, "As soon as I finish cleaning up this mess, I'll be back. By the way, your smile's still so unpleasant, Moon Bayong." So he wiped his face with a peace-if cloth and said, "Don't misunderstand me. I just know that he's Gado's son, so I wanted to see his war spirit." The deputy dean didn't look at him or turn around and kept walking and responded in disappointment, "You really haven't changed at all. All of this because of your wrong mindset, that Gado has chosen Phoenix instead of you, Moon Bayong." The silence gone around all the place, and everybody just stopped in silence for at least a couple of minutes. Because what the deputy dean said means that the rumor was true. The rumor has it that the Phoenix and Moon Bayong were once the disciples of Rogue's father, Gado, and that startled everyone, especially after have those conclusions about the rumors. But Moon Bayong responded carelessly and hardly trying to hide that those words got under his skin. "Those army dogs? Come on. I forgot about them long time ago," which made the deputy dean respond very fast. "You don't seem to be comfortable fighting against Rogue." Then he smiled even more and said, "That's really true. OMG. That's the reason why I hate to talk to intelligent people." Right after she looked at him with a look telling him how silly he is, then she turned around very fast to Mr. Gao and the director again saying, "And you two," making them sat on their knees, shaking scarily. And she carried on saying, "Teacher Gao, Rogue must be unconscious now. Right now, very quickly take him to the medical room." Then Gao raised his hand, saluting her, the military salute, saying, "Yes, Deputy Dean." Then the Deputy Dean looked at the director and told him, "Director, the assessment is over. Get a list of this year's entrants." And he, in return, he played like he's cute and said, I almost forgot that I'm such an idiot," making smack the shit out of him, saying, "Still dare to act cute?" And Mr. Gao said, "I should better go. I saw nothing." Then she used her cane crutch and hit the director, sending him away from her like if he's a golf ball. But this hilarious scene was interrupted by Moon Bayong saying, "About Rogue's war spirit deputy dean. He can't control that power, right? I felt particularly strange when I fought him. By remembering his actions and how he was behaving, he wasn't controlling that war spirit." Then Bayong finished his talking by saying, "I don't know, but his war spirit seems to be out of nowhere. A separate life." And by finishing what he was saying, he finally got the deputy dean's attention when she turned to listen to him and responded in decisiveness and intensity. "It's none of your business." While she's finishing her words, Gao gone to the place where Rogue has sent to and unconscious at after the deputy dean's spiritual move. And Gao entered a demolished place, or some area that was a building before, trying hardly to look for Rogue everywhere, but can't cause of the gray smoke that making the place like if it was hit by a storm, and saying, "Rogue must be right around here. Well, oh, here he is. I found him." And found Rogue fainted and his back leaning against some wall. And in the wall, there's like an enormous hole taking the shape of his war spirit monster. And the deputy dean finished her talking, getting closer to Moon Bayong, telling him that if Rogue's not Gado's son, or if he even had that kind of spurt you talk about, then I'll kill him once I know that. By the beginning of the next day and in the morning after a long night and an extremely hard and shocking day, by the sunset we gotta know that the assessment of Lui College ended in silence. Those who failed left quietly, and those who passed were told to stay quietly. And to complete the series of the unbelievable events, we gotta know that too. The loser is near despair, and the winner is unhappy. You shouldn't be surprised, cause this is the Lui College. Opening his eyes hardly, and barely can see a white ceiling and a room or place looking like it's a part of hospital or the medical room. And after opening completely his eyes and realize that he's laying on some bed in the medical room of the college, and almost all of the scars and cuts on his face got a medical care. Then he tried to sit down or get up, but every single bone on his body's hurting him very badly, and some of his bones may be cracking or something, which made him say, it hurts. But after many hard tries, he sat down, and the deputy dean's voice interrupted this silence coming from his right, telling him, "You're fine. You got no injuries, very serious," which made him look at her on his right to find out that she's sitting down by his bed. Then he surprised and asked her very seriously, with the pain controlling his voice. Huh? Aren't you that house's granny?